Hi, I'm Andrew Spieler.
And I'm Mary Hope Rennie.
And you're watching or listening to Behind the Sign, Real Stories from Real Estate. Welcome to episode 27. And today's special guest, we have the one and only
Rachael Farley. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming and joining us, Rachael.
My pleasure. I love hanging out with both of you.
AKA Rach NH.
Yes.
Because, I hear it in my head. And that's actually one of the questions I'm going to ask you about later.
Okay.
Is the name. So
My kids call me Rach NH too. So,
Really?
yeah.
Oh my
Not like
goodness.
all the time, but like in joke, they'll be like, "Where are you going, Rach NH?" or whatever. So yeah,
When you're heading out the door
Yeah.
for real estate, that's who you are.
really stuck.
not mom, just Rach NH.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. That's good. Well, so obviously we want to talk a little bit about your background, right? What got you into real estate? What was your early start? You run a pretty successful team as well. So what grew you into the team arena? And then just get any sort of words of wisdom on your journey so far. So
Okay.
You wanna-
on a journey.
Yeah.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you get started?
Mm-hmm.
Like where and when and why and what did you do before even real estate?
Yeah. So I think like a lot of people, you kind of get introduced to the world of real estate and you either think I can do that, or maybe you thought I could do that better, or maybe that's just really interesting. And so it kind of just piques your interest. And in fairness, I did come from a real estate family. My dad owned a Century 21 growing up. And then later in life, he went into mortgages. And post college, I was enamored with the idea of traveling. I wanted to work on a cruise ship. And I just said,
love
fine,
that.
Dad. Yeah.
I've
I'm like,
never-
fine, Dad, I'll work doing mortgages with you for the summer. And then the cruise ship deals just never amounted to anything. So I was like, okay, well, I live in New Hampshire. And so I got into the mortgage industry. And then I was in the mortgage industry and it was like, oh, I want to start investing in multifamilies in Manchester. And so at the time, lived with my boyfriend at the time. We had bought a multifamily and I was like, okay, how about I just get my real estate license? It's not that big of a deal. And then in the future, we could represent ourselves. And so got my license and promptly did nothing with it for 10 years. And
Wow.
so in 2016, so I'm finishing my 8th year in real estate, I had been working in the mortgage industry. The A- paper kind of collapsed. A lot of us lost our jobs. I went into marketing. I got a master's degree in marketing and I was working for corporate companies and just like really hating gray cubicle land like a lot of us do. And my position was eliminated. And I was like, oh man, I had thought, I am recently divorced and my kids are 2, 4, and 6 years old. What a wonderful time just to go be self-employed. But the truth of the matter was, as I was really disenfranchised with corporate America, and I thought, boy, this is like a false sense of security that I can just depend on this paycheck.
Yeah.
It's like this, they have more control over my life than I do. And I know in my heart that I'm a super hard worker. And I just kind of was like half-heartedly applying for jobs. And, this real estate license was talking to me over here. I'd kept it active for all those years.
Just in case.
Yeah, well, yeah, just in case. And so I was like, you know what? Let me give it a year. And if I work as hard for myself as I've done for everybody else, I think I'm just bound to be successful. So I'm gonna try. And it's such a scary leap to go from a salaried position. At least my generation was like, get good grades, go to a good college, get a good paying job, work your way up the ladder, like all this safety and security. And the idea of being self-employed in a commission lifestyle was like terrifying. But I was like, okay, let's just give it a shot. And so I just started coming to the office every single day, not knowing what to do.
This was 2016?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was July 1st, 2016.
But who remembers our first county,
Yeah.
right?
And I just started coming to the office every day and I started meeting with ALC members and I was like, can we have coffee? Can we have lunch? What do you do? What do you do every day? Because what do you
Yes,
do?
love it.
What do you do? Like, what works? How do you get people? Because I did realize really quickly, it's not like you have an open for business sign and people just come in and are like, I'm ready to sell my house. I mean, sometimes that happens, but That's not really how it works. And so, I mean, I sat in on all the classes and I just started like throwing myself into it. But I really treated this work just like I treated my corporate job, which is 8 to 5 every day.
Mm.
And like, it was high stakes for me. I mean, I had my own mortgage to pay and my kids were young, so they were in daycare.
Mm,
So I was like,
mm.
there's no messing around. Like if I don't get traction, I don't make this work. Like this isn't forever just to have fun and see if it, I'm not here having cocktails and luncheons, like a lot of, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've come to learn that there's nothing wrong with it. Everybody loves different things about real estate.
But it's
That's not what I was
a whole different perspective
Mhm.
when you are dependent on this
Mhm.
and you're looking at it as a career.
Mhm.
Was the sole means of income, the stakes are much higher,
Yeah.
because
But we were just talking about that before. If you have a buffer, it's a lot harder to put the work in.
Mhm. Yeah, because it's not easy and you're learning so many things, especially right out of the gate. You're learning actually just how to do the job, but then you're learning how to market yourself and, how to create a budget and a P&L and oh my God, I got to file quarterly taxes. What does that mean? And so you're just drinking from the fire hose and you're just you're trying to do a good job, but just making sure like am I doing the right things every day?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if I'm being honest, like I think the number one thing that people miss is they're just waiting for like a task, a responsibility, a deadline, the phone to ring, but you have to be so proactive getting started. And I soaked up all the education here. I mean, I was sitting in every single type of class, like every regional training event. Like early on, I couldn't afford to go to family reunion. I couldn't afford to do bold my first year. But then, like, when I could, I did. And I just like sunk myself in. And I really just thought, like, since this company is for real estate agents, I'm like, let me just I do not think I have my own plan. I have followed the plan. I have followed the MREA. Like I am not trying to recreate the wheel. Anytime I'm kind of like deviating from like the plan, if you will, I'm like, is is this the right decision? I'll think about it twice rather than like just good doing my own thing. And so after a year, I, it was proven to be successful. Like I had enough traction. I was doing well. And, you know, after my first year, I was making more money than I did at my corporate job that had taken me like 20 years to work my way up,
Mm.
from college to that age.
Do you remember your first deal? Or close to it? I'm always curious because
That's a good question. So, in fairness, I've been part of 500 plus deals at this point.
so
A little hard to remember, but I definitely. Oh no! I do remember my first listing agreement
see, I knew you would.
and like asking for pennies for my listing commission, and just like being so nervous and probably bright red by the end of the meeting and trying to explain the listing agreement.
That you have no clue what you're doing.
Yeah, and I remember, but I was just like, she's gonna hire me and I'm gonna like kill it. I'm gonna crush it. We're gonna do so well. And so yeah, I do remember my first like listing presentation for somebody who wasn't like a family member.
Right.
That
right.
like, oh, you should use so and so, and they called me and I was like, oh my god.
This is a real one.
Yes.
This is a live one. This is a live body that might
Yeah.
pay me money.
Yeah, exactly.
So your first year,
Mm-hmm.
after 12 months of doing it, so by the next July, you were able to comfortably say, this actually can work.
Yes. Yep. Yep. I felt like I was on solid ground.
Did you have trouble? And I'm saying this because so many people want to pour themselves in,
Mm-hmm.
and they do pour themselves into the classes and
Mhm,
such.
mhm.
What do you think allowed you to take the right action?
That's a good question. I guess I would answer that slightly different than however you're asking it. It's like whatever somebody is uncomfortable doing and they're staying off to the side and not doing that thing, that is the thing that they need to do.
Bingo.
So like if they are like so nervous about talking to people or doing an open house or I don't even know, teaching a class or telling making a social media post
Mm.
because they think that they're going to be like annoying to people. Like, you got to get out of your own head because number one, nobody cares more about you than you. So like all of your worries about
And worse.
what everybody else thinks about you, I guarantee they don't think about you as much as you think they do. And so whatever it is that like you're not doing is most likely the thing you have to do.
It's the activity.
For 1,000,000%. Like, you got to get into, I've been to so many Keller Williams classes, massive action,
Mm.
try everything. And I tried a lot of things because I came from a marketing background. Other agents in the office, we got a booth at a wedding expo and we were trying to meet, young couples. We thought, well, they're going to be buying soon, and I'm like trying to like, do all these different things that had worked in other market, but it was like I was willing to try, I was just
Yeah.
willing to try things.
Yes.
And at some points, like I've bought leads because like either I learned, hey, I'm good enough in front of people. If I could just get in front of more people, like that will be successful. And that's ebbed and flowed over the years in different lead channels. But you just have to take massive action. And at first, it's so hard to get the ball moving. But
Mhm.
once you do, it really
Right.
does start coming. And like slowly, those people that you're nurturing, they just drop in at different times that you weren't
Right.
expecting. But you gotta start pushing that heavy rock and just taking action.
So when you started,
Mm-hmm.
when did you become Rach NH? When did you have the idea?
He's been waiting this whole episode already.
Right.
Just have to get this out
I
there.
know. I know.
Okay, well, now you guys are like, this is going really deep into my personal life, but we're gonna go on.
That's what the podcast is here for.
Okay, so
No one else is listening except the two of us.
So I did already
Right.
mention when I got into real estate, I was recently divorced. And I was like, so many people are like, the Smith and, Woods Realty Group. And, it's everyone's always marketing with their last name.
Yeah.
And, I was a young woman at the time. I was like, I'm not going to be this last name forever.
Mm.
So I'm like, I just refuse to market with this last name because it's just going to confuse people later.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so I hemmed and hawed about it for a little while and I really didn't like do any like branding. But again, coming from a marketing background, I just kept like marinating on it. And I can remember driving my gray minivan home one day and I was like, ooh, Rach NH. I was like, ooh, I got to see if that website is available.
Yeah.
So I like drove home, checked it out, and I was like, oh, I found it. So the first step in branding was, of course, to get a vanity license plate.
Of course. Yes. Step one, because you're not an agent without a. I did a whole little
He
thing
did
on
know
that.
I saw that. I wish I was part of it. I'm mad.
You weren't at the office that day.
Yeah. And so I think I like grabbed the domain. I couldn't believe it was available, which is funny because so many email addresses and social media handles of Rach and H are gone, but
Interesting.
the URL, the domain was available. So I bought that. I ordered my vanity plate and I was like,
Now
we
I'm
got
in business.
something.
Yep.
We got something. And so it just like I'd been thinking and ruminating and then finally it clicked.
Okay. Now, follow-up question to that.
Okay.
The green.
Mm-hmm.
Where did the green come from?
This is going to sound really vain. I'm kind of embarrassed.
I know what it is.
It's okay. It's okay if you edit this out. But I had a green jacket, and everywhere I went, people were like, "You look amazing in that green." And I was like,
It's a power color. There's nothing
"Thanks."
wrong with it.
And I should have worn it today, but
Well, you have the green on your microphone.
I was trying to spice it up and wear something other than green for a change. But anyway, and then
You look good in green.
But in fairness, I also then again my marketing brain, I was like, not a lot of people use green in their marketing.
Absolutely.
And so I'm like, I like this. It stands out than a lot of reds and blues that are out there. So green's the color.
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
Embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing.
But that's marketing.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's authentic marketing from
Yeah.
the inside out, right? You organically arrived at both the name and the color as a
Yeah.
result of like confident points.
We all know when more than one person compliments you on an outfit, that color works for you.
Well,
And we keep that keep that outfit in the cycle of clothes. And sure, that's what you do too.
No.
The different plaids.
Plaids, yeah, right. Yeah, you know what's funny? So out in LA, I refused to wear plaid because plaid was what the hipsters wore.
Oh.
Yeah, I did not consider myself a hipster at
But
them. They
now
had
you
a
are.
strong hipster faction and lovely people, but I just could not dress like that. And then they come back to New England. I'm like, oh, I'll plaid it up because it's like it's a different.
Now you're a
It means something
hipster.
different.
Yeah.
There's no hipsters here. There's only like
You
loggers.
are the
Yeah.
hipster.
Yeah,
Lumberjack.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm a
That's
New England
right.
hipster. Yeah, but okay.
So, okay. So we started at the beginning that you kind of got the ball rolling and did. I love the word massive action
Yes.
because I think so many people do some action, but not at a massive level to get them. And I feel that beginning, that traction is not there. So you have to, and you even use the word boulder. You have to move that boulder. So it's gonna be more massive action to get that boulder moving
Yeah.
at the beginning. So you started there. Where did I do know, because I know you just progressed bigger and bigger, meaning your action, your business, you took it seriously. Where did you hit that ceiling of, oh, I can't do this on my own anymore?
Well, I just wanted to add something because, I'd imagine some people are going to watch and be like, I'm so tired of hearing like you got to take action. Like it's massive action. And I'll give some examples, and persistently. So it's not like you tried an open house one time and 2 people came and you didn't get a lead. So that was a failure, right? I mean, I was obviously doing every bit of opportunity time that I could. I was all over the, whether it was the Facebook page for Metro or the intranet. Anytime somebody needed a showing, anytime somebody needed open house coverage, anytime I could raise my hand to do something in real estate, I was doing it. And then it was like, okay, if this didn't work, what could I have done differently? And how do I try that again? But again, like it was heads up, eyes open, head on a swivel, like where can I be doing anything in real estate? And so that coupled with not a ton of social media, and I'm not, believe me, like I was definitely the days of Facebook where you took one picture and like that was good enough. And so anytime I'd post like an open house, that made people feel like, oh,
She's doing
this
good.
is working.
This is
This
working.
is working for Rachel. Like I'm happy for her. Hopefully they thought that. And so like, or whatever, like I had a sign installed and I take a picture of that. Like
Yes. They knew you were in the business.
yes.
You were taking it seriously.
And again, so it was just like, it wasn't like major things. Like I didn't recreate the wheel. I was just doing any opportunity thing that came up
Right.
and then just like telling people about it. I am not a video editing person. Like I'm far more analytical than I am creative. And so like social media is not like my number one thing. I think we use it, but I'm not using it at a super high level, but I am using it just to stay in touch with people. So
Right.
I wanted just to be more specific that there are specific things. And if you show up and if you're talking to people, opportunities fall in your lap. I would take
Absolutely.
rental leads. I would
Oh,
take
rental leads can be the best leads
I would
because they
take
turn into listings.
the busy agents would be like, oh, I don't want to show this Zillow client. And I'll be like, I'll do it and I'll give you a referral fee. Like, but I wouldn't have known because if I wasn't here, but I was
Bingo.
here and they were tired and they were overworked. And I was like, because when you're hustling and you need it, you're willing to do it.
Yes. Yeah.
So that like I think hustle is definitely like
Part of that.
thread.
Yes.
But then it got to the point not that far in, like maybe a year, less than a year in. Again, Keller Williams model, it was kind of like if you're going to grow, you're going to need an assistant, at least one. And for me, it was really important because I really wanted just to buy back my time. And that can be the first reason that you need leverage is not because like you are running this wildly booming business, but like you don't have enough time to do everything.
And do it well.
Yeah. And so, I made my first hire. Sarah, who's still with me, 7 years later. And it was more so like I'm buying back my time so I can be present with my kids. And so, whatever her salary was like a price I was willing to pay to have some mental clarity and some
Yes.
time clarity. And, so that just made sense to make that investment. And, many people have probably heard, you're not making a commitment to a whole year's salary,
No.
whatever that is. You're trying somebody out. Am I dedicated enough? Is this person the right fit? Are we going to work well together? And is this accomplishing what I'm setting out to
Yeah.
You
accomplish?
grow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so you're not making like a crazy investment when you try it. And so she was a great hire, obviously. And
That's a long time
yeah,
to
7
keep that.
years.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive
Mhm.
Yeah.
because agents also are not very patient
Yeah.
and not always the best
Mm.
employer.
Employer, yeah. But in fairness, like I had come from such a structured corporate background
Yeah.
that I was emulating as best I
Yeah.
could a corporate environment for her. So she really felt like a hired like
Yes.
professional in a professional environment, and I've always treated her that way. I respect her nights, I respect her weekends. Like she works like Monday through Friday. She's in operations, and I don't treat her any other way. And this is no disrespect because everybody's going to have a plan that worked for them. But like, she wasn't picking up my kids. Like, she wasn't picking up
Yeah.
my groceries. Like, she was here to be in real estate. And as such, she's grown into the role and she's training other people who are
Yeah.
coming in, whether they're operations or sales, because she's been only doing real estate with me for 7 years.
That's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. So, what do you think allowed you, when you said your background, but allowed you that consistency? First of all, I think in and of itself, once you hire someone, there's more at stake.
Yeah.
So I feel like you always had to have something at stake to keep
I
going.
agree with that.
But so many agents have such a hard time with consistency in their business. What do you think allowed you to continue that? First of all, to be able to hire an admin and keep an admin and build a team. Agents are really good about riding the roller coaster of this business.
I think that was part of the reason that I was looking to hire is to do my best to eliminate the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys. My guess, and I haven't been in it forever, is that it's going to be impossible to have like this perfectly flat.
Absolutely.
It's not like I produce 8 deals per month every month, and that's just the way it is. Like sometimes it's 2 and sometimes it's 20. Like you just never know. But the effort in hiring somebody was to help reduce the peaks and valleys. So it was like that way, if I'm like really caught up in like, the files that were pending, somebody else was still keeping the marketing going and answering this and making sure we're still doing social media, even though I'm on the road doing a million things. Like it keeps the ball moving forward. And so it wasn't like this as much after the first hire, but it was like a little bit like this. And then after the second hire, it was a little bit like this. And now I do just kind of look at things annually versus month by month or quarter by quarter, because we have enough stability and enough operational support that I'm not worried about us going out of business anymore. And it's like,
It's a big deal.
yeah, no,
That's it.
totally. Oh, believe me, I know at first I was like,
Or
yeah,
throwing
right.
up on the roller coaster.
So I think when you hire operational help, and whether it's like a salaried person or whether it's a pay per transaction person or whatever you're doing, the goal with that is to reduce the peaks and valleys. And over time, I think there just more consistency comes. But like last year had the biggest December ever, and it's not because I think that was more the market than me, but we were ready.
You were ready.
We were
You had the
ready.
people
Right.
in place.
Right.
So now you've built a team and it's gone through bigger, smaller. And I love that about real estate. It also depends on where you are in your life, right? Really, our business does change as our kids get older. We're given more time here, but not here, right? As you know, now that your kids are getting older, they need you in different ways and different.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily dropping them off at daycare.
Yeah.
Where do you see the growth of your team and why you did that? And then where do you see that going?
It's tricky because in many ways, I kind of feel like my kids need me more
That's
now.
Yes.
Because they used to go to bed at 7:00.
They're up all night long.
But I don't want to hear this.
Yes.
And they
Scared of this
all
feature.
night long. And you
Yeah.
wake up to food
Yeah.
the next
Yeah.
morning. No, it's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, my oldest just got his driver's license, and leading
That
up to
changes
that,
your world.
that felt like a part-time job to get through driver's ed. my own part-time job, just getting him there. But now it's like this nice little like breath that is
Mhm.
being exhaled, sort of. But I'm not in the clear whatsoever. So I don't want anybody to think like, oh, well, no wonder Rachel has free time. Like her kids are
No.
older. No,
It's a different.
I'm remarried. I have a stepdaughter who's 11, and then mine are 12, 14, and 16, and they need a lot of attention. They are super attentive to me and want me to be super attentive to them. And so, like, if I'm stressed or something, they'll be like, "Can you put your phone down? I'm trying to talk to you." I'm like, "Okay."
Before when they're little, they
Thank
can't
you.
say that or know
Oh,
that.
they still
You
can. Oh, yes, that goes.
Yeah,
I
fair
know.
enough, fair enough.
My
And
daughter's like, "Daddy."
yeah.
Like,
So, and you can't fake it. So you have to be present.
mhm.
You do have to be present. There's no like ways to like skirt around it. It's
Mhm.
like you're either there or you're not, and this isn't there. And so, um anyway, to answer your question, I'm still like very much in the thick of it when it comes
Right.
to parenting. And so this is actually like a little bit harder right now for kind of keeping all the balls in the air. Um because we have grown a good sized team with a lot of traction, and I do want to show up at a high level for my kids. And
I
actually the kids are more important. So sometimes
absolutely.
things fall off for business that I'm like, you know what? In another 5 to 10 years, I will have more bandwidth and more opportunity might come, but like I have to just be okay with not being able to capture everything. And that is totally where I am. And so really, like, I can only manage listings at this point. I can't do any buyers. I
Mm.
really can't. And I like them because every once in a while something slips through the crack, or like, for instance, my brother and his wife just bought a house. And
Yeah.
so,
So
like, of
of
course,
course.
but it's wonderful. It's a wonderful experience. And I look forward to being able to do that again someday, but I don't have the bandwidth to do it right now. Otherwise, like, and I have to be there for my family, but I also have to be there for my staff. I can't just be a zombie of a
Right.
person who works, 100 hours a week and lead them and motivate them and
Mm.
have a vision for the team if I'm just a zombie too. So
Mm.
it's a give and take. So where is the team going? I don't know. Some days I'm like, I'm ready to hit the road. Like, am I ready for retirement yet or what? But other times I'm like, yeah, like we could really grow this into something. Like, where do we want to go? But like for right now, I'm like, I only will work with professionals on the team who want to give it 110%, who are very professional, that I would feel fine that any of my clients interacting with them would be a good representation of me and the brand. And wherever that leads organically right now is good enough for me.
I love it.
But we'll see. I'll have a different vision in 5 years from now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of this. And that's
Mhm.
why I love people to know that, first of all, you don't need to know where that is
Yeah.
going to go. And you don't know where your life's going to go. And the beauty of our business is it can go in different places.
Yeah.
And I feel like you at least have a structure in place
Mhm.
that the very fact that you can say, I only want to work with sellers
Mhm.
and here are my buyers
Mhm.
to my team,
Mhm.
that's a big deal.
Mhm.
Well, it's just proof, though, that like we've been talking about, real estate is this thing that adapts and molds to you depending upon where you want life versus a corporate job where it's like there's no change or wiggle room.
Yeah.
And like you said, you are not in control of your own destiny.
Yeah.
So to be able to have that kind of flexibility and
Yeah.
control and autonomy over life events, I think that, honestly, I think that's the most probably rewarding part of being a freelancer, whether it's in real estate or outside. It's you sink or swim based on your own desire, motivation,
Mhm.
and hustle, like you said, right?
Yeah, and I didn't set out to um run a team or anything like that. It definitely grew organically.
Right.
And it was kind of like, okay, we have more business than we can handle. Hire a second
There you
assistant.
go.
We have more business than we can handle. Let's get a showing assistant. We have more business than we can handle. We got to graduate them to a buyer's agent. And then, okay, now we got to train them on how to do listings. And so everything happened organically. It wasn't, it wasn't just masterminding of like, and then I'm going to have 10 agents and then that, like,
But you did follow systems.
100%.
And you followed
Mhm.
steps that have worked. Kind of like you said, I did not reinvent the wheel.
Mhm.
There are steps that actually work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And can become organic,
Mhm.
but why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that because I sit off-site from the Bedford location that I'm somewhat inaccessible, and especially like a lot of people might not even know who I am, and I get
But
it. I
we
get it.
have you here right
Yeah.
now.
But I'll have people reach out to me and be like, "Hey, I have a question about hiring a buyer's agent." I'm like, "Great, give me a call and I'll hash it through." I mean, I had the privilege of going through MAPS training and I was a MAPS
Yeah.
coach for a year. that was too much. Like I couldn't be a MAPS coach and run a business. But anyway,
And have children.
and I talked to them and they're like, so I'm going to hire a buyer's agent. I'm like, great. So what do your 2 assistants do for you right now? And they'll be like, I have like a part-time person who helps me with social media. And I'm like, you're not going to be able to retain a buyer's agent. Like, listen, I do believe in the foundation more than anything, like that 2 assistants, like feeding you all the sales stuff. That I believe in wholeheartedly, because then you can support other salespeople coming in, and people skip that.
Mm.
After that, I feel like there is a lot of different ways to grow a team and how you interact and who supports who and all of that. But that foundational piece of like really having an operations team to support salespeople, everybody wants to jump it and everybody thinks that they're going to be different. And I can't tell you how many conversations just in this market center. I'm like, okay, I
Go
do.
for it.
I call me if you have any questions, like let me know.
Absolutely.
So that's a common misstep.
So our usual wrap-up question, I kind of feel
Yeah.
like she already hit the mark, talking about massive
Action.
massive action and hustle. So as a different sign-off question, can you tell us the hardest thing you think you've had to do since you started in real estate? Like, what was that moment where you were just like, this is harder than I ever, ever, ever expected?
And that you did it.
And that you did it. Yeah. And that you came on the other side of it.
I'm going to give 2 examples. I'll give you like the harder one and like maybe the silver lining one. The harder one was like sometimes saying goodbye to people that it's just not a fit. Like, because I really care about people, and like especially when you help bring them in and train them, and it's just like this isn't like a good fit for you guys. And I truly believe too is like holding somebody back from something they're not like meant for. I'm like preventing them for getting like opening the right door. And so we've had to say goodbye to people, and that's been really, really hard. And then the other like really hard thing is because I'm like a scrapper by nature. We had a listing lead come in, and it was like an expired listing, and he only wanted me to meet with his daughter who lives in the area at a specific time. And then he's like, oh, by the way, like this is going to be our listing price and we have no room for price reductions. And I'm like listening to all this and I'm like, there's like red flag, red flag, red flag. It's like $1 million listing. I'm like, red flag. And part of me is like that. All right, like I'll rise to the occasion. It's like that part of me.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, I said, Sarah, like there seems to be enough red flags that I just feel like I need to decline this opportunity because I just feel like it's going to be more headache than it's worth. And she's like, I'm so glad you said that. And so I said no to even a listing opportunity, which I never would have dreamed of in a million.
Especially $1 million.
Yeah.
Well, they thought it was $1 million.
Yeah. And so I was just like, wow, like it feels good, but I'm like, I can't believe that this actually just happened and I did it. And so I was proud of myself. So
Well,
That's
I mean,
great.
we've talked about that on the show before too, right? That sometimes it's more important to say no than to say yes, right? Because that's really what defines your path and your value system.
Well, and your opportunities and what you can't say yes to certain things if you don't say no to other things.
right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's one of the hardest things to do just in general. So
Yeah. Well,
thank
this
you.
was enlightening.
Yes. No, I love it because what we've come to, I just love this podcast because everyone's story is so different, yet everything has the same thread in it. And a lot of it is do the hard.
Everything works, nothing doesn't.
And be authentic to who you are and not try to be somebody who you're not.
Yeah.
And I love to see successful agents all have done it in so many different ways. And it's really cool to see that this career has so many opportunities. And each person has a different type of opportunity in it. And so I really appreciate that. And I think it's so good to hear that it's not easy. It didn't start off easy.
I don't think it's ever going to be easy.
Not. But we want it to be.
Yeah. Oh,
It
yeah.
looks easy. It looks fun. We all want to go show that house. We love showing houses. That's not this business. Yet, that's not there. But the amount of opportunities is there.
Yeah.
And what it can do for your family and what it did for your family
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Could we do this again?
Of
maybe
course.
sometime?
Yeah, we'll have a 2.0.
That's right.
Perfect.
Perfect. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
See you later.
We get a double wave.
Yeah, we
That was good.
know. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Behind the Sign, Real Stories from Real Estate.
We hope you enjoyed today's conversation and gained a little insight into the world behind those for sale signs.
Today's episode was brought to you by Keller Williams Realty Metropolitan, proudly serving New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, and Massachusetts. A special thank you to our agents, leadership, and partners at KW Metro for their continued support.
And thanks to you, our amazing listeners and viewers. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Leave us a review or comment. We love hearing your feedback, and it helps more people discover the show.
And if you have a real estate story you'd like to share or a question you want answered on a future episode, reach out to us at metro.kw.com or find us on Instagram, handle @KWMetroNH.
Until next time, we'll see you
Behind the sign.